It's my honor to be here with two very special people, Dean Karnezis and Joe Mada. Thank you very much, it's my honor. Dean, thank you very much. You inspired me to start running from your books and everything you have done. So, two ultramarathoners who will try to convince us how we can find our best selves. So, how difficult is it? And Dean, what's the secret? How can we find our best self?
It's simple. Just do what you love. If you do what you love, you'll be happy.
Okay, that's it. Thank you very much.
End of story. End of story. Yeah.
So, can you tell us a little bit about your secrets and everything that you have done? You have written 1, 2, 3 books, I think, right?
5.
5, 6. I have read only 3 of those.
No
And
problem.
yeah, and Joe, please do a Spartathlon under 28 hours, please.
Exactly,
please.
I'm going to do it for you. No worries.
Okay, so
Deal.
let's start. Dean, the stage is yours.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'll start by telling you a bit of my backstory.
Okay.
I used to love to run when I was a young boy. My earliest childhood recollections are running home from kindergarten when I was 5 years old. I loved to run when I was in high school, and we won the cross-country championship. And I decided that's as far as I'll ever get in running. So at 15 years old, I stopped running altogether, and I started pursuing other sports. Then I graduated from university. I went to graduate school and got a master's degree, and then I went to business school and I got an MBA. And I had a very comfortable corporate job in San Francisco. I had, a company car, I had a nice paycheck, I had stock options, all of these things. But I wasn't very fulfilled for some reason. And I was young. And on the night of my 30th birthday, my friends took me out to a nightclub, a bar in San Francisco, and we started drinking. That's kind of a tradition. And at midnight, I told them I was going to leave, and they said, let's have another round of tequila to celebrate. And I said, no, and instead of that, I'm going to run 30 miles to celebrate, which is about 50 kilometers. And they looked at me and they said, but you're not a runner, you're drunk. And I said, I am, but I'm still going to do it. So I walked out of the bar, and I'll never forget, I didn't own running gear, but I had on silk underwear, like silk boxer shorts. So I peeled off my pants, threw them down the alleyway, and just started heading south into the darkness, into the night, knowing there's a town called Half Moon Bay that was 30 miles away. And I sobered up about 10 miles down the road, and I thought, what the hell am I doing? It's a bad idea. But something just seemed right. It seemed like God put me on earth to be a runner. So I ran all night. It took me, I don't know, 8 or 9 hours. I watched the sunrise the next morning. And I quit my corporate job and decided I was going to be an ultramarathoner. And that was 30 years ago, and I'm still an ultramarathoner. So I found my best life.
And you, Joe? How did you start running?
I started running older than Dean, 35. I never quit my job because I don't have this option here in Greece. It's hard. And when I started running, I don't know, I found love, freedom, actually being myself, having the alone time. So I can't change that. I'm still in love with running.
And how did you start?
Actually, I'm in a marriage with running.
And how did you start the ultras?
I just want to be out there for a long time. So what else should I do?
Yes, I
Running
can't think
an
anything else.
ultramarathon,
Yeah.
or 2 ultramarathons, it depends.
And you, Dean, how do you keep going after very, very much kilometers?
People say, what do you think about when it gets tough? And that's the problem if you think, because what you're doing it makes no sense. It defies logic. When you tell someone you just ran 100 miles, 162 kilometers, they look at you and they can't understand, did you sleep at hotels along the way? where did you eat? These kind of questions, and you say, no, you don't stop. You put on a headlamp at night, you eat while you run, and they're so fascinated by it. So I tried never to lose the perspective of, although Joe and I have done, I've done hundreds of ultramarathons. Joe has certainly done her share. And the community, we speak to each other as though everyone in the world does these sort of crazy foot races, but to most people what we do is absolutely insane and inspirational.
Would you like to share with us a presentation, a PowerPoint?
Yeah, I can show some slides, I think. What do you think, audience? Slides? Okay. So, the other thing you asked about is how do you keep your passion for running going? One thing that I've noticed is I like to compete in organized races, but I also like to do my own adventures. So running more as exploration, it's an expedition somewhere. This particular event that I'm showing here was an idea I had about running 50 marathons in all of the 50 United States in 50 days. And I was working with a company called The North Face then, and I said, this can be a North Face expedition, because they'd never sponsored an expedition that wasn't on a mountain, climbing the North Face of Everest or K2. And I said, an expedition doesn't have to be on a mountain, it can be anywhere. Let's have an expedition across the United States. So they decided, let's try it, and it was a great success. I also invited other runners to come out and join me, so there's a couple thousand runners across America that joined me for certain marathons. And this was the final marathon, which was New York City. And people say, how did you feel after running 50 marathons? The remarkable thing is, I was my strongest after the 50th marathon. So I finished in 3 hours flat, New York City Marathon, which is pretty respectable. New York is kind of a tough marathon, and that was after 49 marathons. So the human body is a remarkable machine if we just treat it properly. After that, I've done things like running a marathon to the South Pole. I've run on all 7 continents twice. I've run on mountains. I've run across deserts. I ran across Central Asia. I've been a U.S. athlete ambassador on 3 sports diplomacy envoys. 1 to Central Asia, 1 to South America, and 1 to the Central Pacific. So running has taken me beyond the race course, if you will, because I'm passionate about it. I enjoy it, and I like seeing running as art, as an experience versus just a race. Thankfully, Joe is just as adventurous as me, and we've done some adventures of our own. Oh, that's a final shot. That's Death Valley, by the way, in California. But Joe is a very willing companion when we come up with ideas. So I had an idea, why don't we watch the sunrise from the Acropolis in Athens and then run to Cape Sunion, to the temple.
Sunset.
Yeah, and watch the sunset at the Temple of Poseidon. So what did you think about that, Joe? You signed up. Friends met us along the way?
Mm-hmm. A lot of friends. It was amazing. It was an amazing adventure, and it has a good cause, remember?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A good cause, and I think that, as many races that I've competed in and won, I'll be honest, I can't keep up with Joe, so she has to slow down when we do these things, but I think you're okay with it.
No problem.
And that's
Cape
the finish of
yeah.
Cape Sunion. So I'm also the global ambassador of Greek tourism, and I do a lot of posting on social media about these adventures to promote not just running, but to promote Greece as well.
And what was your most difficult race so far? Or run so far?
One time I ran across the Atacama Desert, and that's in Central America. It's the driest place on earth. So I asked the man, when was the last time it rained here? And he said, it hasn't. And I said, what do you mean? He said, since they've been keeping records, there's never been a drop of rain here. So it was a 6-day race, what's called self-supported. You had to carry everything you needed on your back, and you slept in tents at night. It was, 35, 36, 38 degrees during the day, and it was below zero at night. And you're sleeping on the, on rocks. So I would say that was my toughest race.
So that race rocked. And
I won the race, but I don't say I won it. I say I survived the fastest. Yeah.
Yes. And what about you, Joe?
My
Hardest race so far?
I haven't done this yet.
Oh.
Good answer.
So I'm looking forward to.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
So far you have done Spartathlon?
Yes, I've done the Spartathlon course.
Which wasn't that difficult, as you said.
It was okay. It's difficult, but it was okay, and I'm going to do it again. I want to break my own record.
And so far from the races that you have qualified and became in the first places, which one was most challenging?
The Badwater. The Badwater in Death Valley, California.
Because?
It was a new place, new people. It was very hot. We don't have such weather conditions here, so it was all new to me. It was a great challenge. That's why. And
how did you find your best self through running?
How did I find my best self? I'm still looking at it, actually. Seriously. You know, when you're running and you have rough times, like you are in pain, you suddenly became friends with pain. So you are better and better and better. You don't care about pain or difficult circumstances in your daily life because you have done an ultramarathon. You said, I'm tough, I'm fine, I'm good. So this is your best self.
And you, Dean, you run a lot. And how can you manage personal life and running?
I think that everything I do, I see through the lens of trying to be the best animal I can be. And that means I look at my life as how do I maximize my performance as an athlete. So that means trying not to stress at work, trying to find a job that allows me to pursue my passions as well, trying to have good interpersonal relationships, that's very important, trying to eat a good diet, to cross-train, to sleep properly, proper sleep hygiene. So I think that anything I look at, no matter what activity, I always say, how best would an athlete approach this, and how can I maximize this experience as an athlete? And
many said that when you run, you are all alone. But obviously, you're not all alone because you have written that when you run, you write also your book. How difficult and how can you manage this?
I think anyone who's a runner knows that we have some of our clearest thoughts when we're running. And I used to try to remember my thoughts and come home and then type them up in my notes, but I decided if I could capture these thoughts real time as they were happening by voice dictation, they'd be more powerful. So I record a lot while I'm running, and then when I fly, you know, because I'm flying around in an airplane so much, it's the only time I sit down. I type up all my notes for the books. And you know, a common comment I get about my books is people they say, I feel like I was right there with you. And that's because I think I'm running as I'm writing, so I can put the reader in my footsteps, in my shoes.
Joe, will we ever see a book from you?
I don't know. That was a great challenge. That is a great challenge too. I don't know. I'm still running, and I'm trying to be focused on running.
Only running?
Yes.
About the balance in personal life and run?
Yeah, of course, but you know, I'm just want to be focused on running, not, you know, thinking about writing a book or, you know, whatever. Just now, I want to run.
Just run.
Yeah, I love it.
And when you see that it is 240 kilometers, 300 kilometers.
I'm not thinking. I'm thinking of it. I just
how
start
can you manage it?
to the next aid station. That's it, and then going and going and going, and then, it's 180. That's okay, I'm close to the finish line. So simple.
Does this help you in the everyday life?
Sorry, what?
The
mindset.
Yes.
The mindset. Yes, of course. Yes, of course. My daily life, it's so difficult. If someone can hear what I'm doing for working or how I work, but for me, it's happy. I'm happy. It's okay.
And you, Dean, you also do the same mindset?
I think when things get tough, I don't think. Like Joe, if you start to think about how much further you have to go, it's overwhelming. If you start to reflect on the past, your mind is wandering. So I don't even think about the next aid station. I think about my next footstep. So I say to myself, take my next footstep to the best of my ability. Take my next footstep to the best of my ability. It's almost like a zen that you put yourself in. And it takes a lot of mental discipline because our minds are so active. Even now as we're sitting here, you're listening to me speak, but you're thinking about a lot of other things at once. And to quiet the mind is not easy. And I force myself just to focus on my next footstep. And if my mind starts to wander about other thoughts, back to my next footstep. And it's very purifying in that way. It's almost like a divine experience. It's kind of like a purging and a cleansing of your soul.
And what about recovery after those kilometers? You ran 50 marathon in 50 days. So how was the recovery plan?
You know, I'm a big advocate for ice baths. I've been taking ice baths for many years, so I always get in cold water. I think that helps with recovery. A diet that is filled with like omega-3 fatty acids, so an oil that comes from fatty fish like salmon or mackerel or sardines. A good traditional Greek diet, you know, with olive oil, olives. That I think helps a lot with recovery.
And what about you, Joe? What about the recovery?
Same. I'm in the same page here. Yes, exactly.
But the recovery
and
is
sleep. A lot of sleep.
Yes. The most important, isn't it, the recovery than the training?
Both. Both. It has to be a balance between trainings and recovery.
And what's the best?
And hear your body. Actually, you have to hear your body. If it's tired, you have to rest. If you can go out, go out. It's simple.
How long did it took you to listen to your body before start running and training?
Maybe 2 to 3 years to have, you know, listen to my body, actually know my body, it's telling me. I think so, 2 to 3 years.
And you, Dean, you ran at 30 miles. And then how was the recovery after this? You didn't tell us. First run 30 miles.
That first run, I felt like I'd been in a car accident. So I couldn't walk up or down stairs for many weeks. Now the recovery is a little bit quicker for me, but it still takes time. I'm a big proponent of what's called active recovery. So I think it's better to, even the next day after an ultramarathon, to go out and run or just walk briskly. I think that just to sit on the couch for a week after a big race is the worst thing you can do. So I've learned some tricks, you know, some things that work for me. I always say with running and recovery, listen to everyone, follow no one. So do a lot of experimenting to find what works best for you.
So you train on your own? You don't have a coach?
I've had many coaches over the years, and I work with a coach now as well, but I listen to people, other ultramarathoners, other marathoners, to try and get their views and their ideas on what works best, and then I experiment in my training to see what I can do best.
And you, Joe?
Yes, I'm with a coach, always. I'm a little different from Konstantin. I like to have a schedule, a program, you know, a coach and guide me. And I'm just following, of course, listening to my body first, and then I'm following my coach instructions.
And how difficult is not to follow the instructions of the coach? How do you feel if you can't follow it?
Guilty. Guilty as charged. Seriously. But it's okay. Sometimes it happens, of course. Yes.
Okay. And what's your typical day in every day of an ultramarathoner?
Wake up early in the morning, go for a training, take a shower, then work till late. This is me.
And when you say training, how many kilometers?
It depends
Okay.
on training. If it's a recovery training, it's 1 hour. Slow. If it's an interval training, it's 1 hour and a half. It depends.
Because there's the urban legend that the ultramarathoners just run many kilometers and they don't stop.
No, that's not my school. That's not my school. I don't say that it's wrong, but it's not my... I don't like it.
Okay, and you, Dean?
You know, I have a pledge that from the moment I get out of bed in the morning until the moment I crawl back into bed at night, I don't sit down. So I try never to sit down. I do all my communications, my emails, my writing at a standing desk, so at waist level. So I'm always standing throughout the day, you know, bouncing on my toes and moving around. And then I do this HIIT training, high intensity interval training with body weight, maybe 4 or 5 cycles throughout the course of the day. Basic stuff, pull-ups, push-ups, chair dips, burpees, those sort of things. But it's about a 12 to 15 minute routine. It's very high intensity, and it's also a lot of physical work with my upper body to cross train. So I'm constantly training throughout the course. I don't just go to the gym for 1 hour and then, you know, come back and go to the office. My gym happens throughout the course of the day.
We have a question here from online. How does an athlete like Dean Karnazes strike a balance between the pursuit of personal goals and the enjoyment of the sport?
I think that I don't separate the two, that everything is commingled. I don't think you can compartmentalize your life. I don't think you can say, here's your job, and then, you know, this is my family and this is my sport. I think it all becomes one. It has to, because it's who you are as a person. So I don't have any illusions that I can separate my writing from my running, or my family from my running, or my friends from my running. It's just all part of one. It's all part of who I am and how I navigate through the world.
Do you think that run is in Greek's DNA?
I know it is. I know. I mean, this is the birthplace of running, and you know, I'm very proud to be Greek and to know the origins of long distance running from the ancient foot heralds back in the 490s, from the original marathoner, who's actually more of an ultra marathoner. But I think that it is in our blood, and not only that, I mean, I've been analyzed and looked at, and it's also in our biomechanics. The way our gait is set up, the way our body is aligned. I mean, we're built for not speed, not the speed of a Kenyan, but a longer duration endurance.
And in terms of training and preparation, what unique approaches or philosophies do you have, Joe? First of you.
Sorry, I thought we
No.
I was thinking. I'm sorry.
In terms
yes,
of
my philosophy?
in terms of training and preparation, what are your unique approaches?
My unique approaches. Look, when I'm training and I have an upcoming race, my approach is to be focused on my trainings, get good sleep, and a good diet, being away from toxic people. Actually, my day life being in a completely balance with the trainings. That's my approach. Because working and training in Greece, in Athens, it's hard, it's difficult. And I'm trying to get the best of it.
And you, Dean?
Yeah, I mean, as I've gotten more seasoned, older, I've learned that I can't run the volume of distance I used to run. I mean, I used to run 200 to 300 kilometers a week routinely, and I will break down if I do that now. So what I've done is I've shortened the duration of my runs, but at a higher intensity. So I've done a lot of experimentation with something called hypoxic training, and that's basically restricting the airflow to make your body work harder. And I'll do a tempo run, which is kind of as fast as you imagine sprinting as fast as you can for 8 or 9 or 10 kilometers and not breathing through your mouth. So forcing yourself not to open your mouth. So and it supercharges your body. I mean, everything, my VO2 max has increased, my lactic threshold's increased, my resting heart rate has decreased. So I've changed around the way I train, less volume, higher quality volume, and it seems to be working. I mean, I'm still able to keep running marathons and ultra marathons, yeah.
And you once said, if you want to run a mile. If you want to change your life, run a marathon. If you want to talk to God, run an ultra. Do you still believe it? What about Joe?
So, of course, if you want to talk to God, not only, or get in another Milky Way, yes, run an ultra marathon. It's amazing. Actually, it's amazing because you're getting out of yourself. I don't have words to describe it, but it happens. It happens. Some portions of the course, you can't even remember where you were. It's unbelievable, and this is amazing. I'm never going to change that. Even if I'm not able to run, I'm going to walk or hike or whatever.
And you, Dean?
I mean, I agree with what Joe is saying. There's a diminishment of ego when you run an ultramarathon, and our ego is so commanding, and it gets in the way of so many of our goals and dreams. And when you run an ultramarathon, you lose yourself, you lose your ego. Your body becomes independent of your mind, and your mind goes to a place that's clean and pure and uncluttered. And that's one thing I really like. I mean, you can sometimes, you can run for 4 or 5 hours, like Joe said, and the next day you can't even really remember that stretch of the road or that stretch of the trail. You're so somewhere else. And it's almost like a hallucinogenic trip of some sort, but it's natural and it's wholesome. And I think that's, to me, is one of the beauties of ultramarathoning. It's not just a physical accomplishment, but it's a rebirth.
Why do you think run became popular the last decade?
I think there's multiple reasons. I think that we are not designed to be bombarded with what we're bombarded with every day. I mean, now, especially with smartphones and social media feeds and this and that, our minds are not programmed for that, and it's overwhelming. And to go do one thing for 2 or 3 hours, it's so relaxing, it's so rejuvenating. And I think that the world would be a better place if everyone would just chill for a moment and go on a run, because it's become so hyperactive, and our nervous systems, everything is, we're not designed for that. So I think, to me, running is a way to escape the world, really escape things, yeah.
And you, Joe, what about you?
Sometimes it's escaping from yourself either. Because we are so stressful, our life, our work is so stressful, we can escape our own self, and this is amazing. This is amazing.
Do you think also ultras might become that popular as the marathon?
I'm sure, yes. And I would love to see more women, Greek women in the ultra marathon, and I think we are on a great way to that, yes, to run more women into the ultras. What do you think?
Yeah,
Greek
I agree.
women.
Yeah, I agree.
Because
Greek
we are
women,
tough.
yeah.
We are tough. See.
Well, Greek women are amazing
yeah.
runners, and they're not given the opportunities, that U.S.-based runners or UK-based runners are. But I'm doing my best to promote the Greek women runners around the world, because they're awesome athletes, they're good ambassadors, and they're good people. But in the U.S. Last year, 67%, imagine this, almost 70% of the finishers of a half marathon were female. In Greece, it's just the opposite. It's like 30%. So women running in Greece, women are still kind of cast in traditional role models here in Greece, and I think that's changing. And I think when it changes, it'll be healthy for the Greek society and Greek culture. But I think more people are being drawn to running. I mean, the numbers, the statistics speak for themselves. More people than ever last year in history ran a marathon. Just in the U.S. alone, There were over 600,000 people. 600,000 people, and globally it was 2 million people ran a marathon. So the sport is growing. It's still a very small portion of the overall population, but I think it's going to continue to grow.
How difficult is for someone to become an athlete for ultra marathon? And it depends on the sponsorships and the popularity of the sport.
I think it depends on this. Yeah, I mean, especially in the U.S., less so here in Greece, but in the U.S., when you go to the start of an ultramarathon, especially a 50-kilometer race, which is on the shorter end of the spectrum, you see people and you think, there's no way they don't look very fit. Like, how are they going to finish a 50-kilometer race? But then you talk to them midway on the course, and it's up here. It's this resilience that they display, this stick-to-itness, this grittiness, this doggedness, and I think that you can learn a lot from these people, and you can learn a lot by running an ultramarathon, because it'll hold a mirror up to you like nothing else. It'll show you who you really are, and you have to confront your weaknesses and your shortcomings. And once you do that, you kind of pass through that wall. Something better, a better version of yourself emerges at the end. Wouldn't you say?
Yes, I agree, Koso. I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, but can someone survive only by running ultras as a main job?
I think you need to do what you love. Again, it comes back to finding your best self is looking inward versus looking outward, and saying, if I have a desire to run an ultramarathon, then that's you're going to be able to run an ultramarathon. If you want to run and you think, wow, being out there for 8 or 9 or 10 hours or running all night, that has no interest to me. You're forcing yourself if you try to do it.
Mm-hmm. And Joe, what do you think about it? It's difficult to abandon your job and work as a ultramarathon.
Let's be honest here. In Greece, it's very difficult. Yes, it is. You can't. The sponsorship here are not like in the U.S. Yeah. And we're not getting paid from running. We just get a sponsorship in clothing apparel or shoes or whatever. It's a nice help. It's a good help. But it's not enough, so we have to for me, as example, I'm working a lot. I was working 12 hours per day, and then I was going at 11:30 p.m. For a run to get in the start line at the Spartathlon course. Everything is possible, but it's hard, and it's here in Greece. It's difficult. I think maybe it's going to get better, but no.
So to conclude. How can we find our best self?
How we can just be happy, just doing what we love, even in our job. I love my job, I love running, so I'm happy. No excuses. Yes, get out there, find the time, make the time actually.
And you, Dean?
I think the opportunities that have been afforded to me are greater because I come from the U.S., but my desire, being Greek, is to bring some of these opportunities back to Greece. So not only with the ultramarathoning community, but I also have other less extreme types of running events. The Navarino Challenge, for instance, which I've been part of for 11 years. We have everything from a kids 1-kilometer race to now a marathon. So these are shorter distances. These are not ultramarathons. I started a company called Greek Running Tours with a Greek operator here, Active Media, and we have partners in Crete and in Athens, in the Peloponnese, and we're bringing tourists into Greece for what we call a runcation. So it's foot tourism. It's a good clientele that we bring into Greece. These are people that appreciate Greece, that want to explore Greece. So doing other things than just running ultramarathons keeps my mind engaged and keeps me loving everything about my life.
What will you suggest someone to start running, who wants to start run?
Me?
Yes.
You start, Joe.
Yes.
What do I suggest? Hear his body, of course. Put a lot of love in running, and just put your shoes on and go out there. It's so easy. And of course, if you want to engage to more pro training, definitely should take advice from a coach to avoid mistakes and injuries or whatever. But you know, when you do what you love, it's just go out there.
And you, Dean?
You know, my advice would be a little more practical. I tell people to start from the ground up. So I tell them invest in a good pair of shoes. Go to a running store and have them fit you in a good pair of shoes. And they say, you know, Nike a good pair of shoes, or Hoka, Adidas. And I say the best pair of shoes are the one that fits you the best. So go to a running store. It's not going to be cheap. These shoes are expensive. They can be 100 euros or more. But that's a good thing, because if you make that investment, you're going to feel guilty if those shoes are sitting in your closet not getting used. So I say start from the ground up, and then I tell people just to aim for running for 3 minutes continuous without stopping. And to an ultramarathoner, you know, we're thinking 3 minutes, come on. But for someone who's just starting out, sometimes they cannot run for 3 minutes. And I see this time and time again. I'll say on your mark, get, set, go, they'll run like they're running a 100-meter dash, and a minute and a half into it, they can't run anymore. They have to walk. So I say you need to learn how to pace yourself. And once they hit 3 minutes, I say now try to run for 5 minutes continuous, and 10 minutes continuous. And once they can run 10 continuous miles, I say try to run a 5K without stopping. Without stopping. That, I don't care about the time. Just arrive at the end of the 5K exhausted, but don't stop to walk in between. And it teaches you how to pace yourself, which is really important in running. And then if you want a coach, of course a coach is going to help. I think if you're like me and you're an introvert, I prefer running by myself. Some people need the stimulation and the accountability of a running group. So if that's who you are, then sign up for a running group. You know you have to be, you know, at a certain place on Wednesday morning for this training run, on Saturday morning for this training run, and it holds you accountable, as well as you get to meet and socialize with other people while you're running.
Any last words?
Last words. Everything is possible. If I can do it, you can do it, you can do it.
And you?
There's a wonderful, it's a Portuguese proverb, who runs for pleasure never tires. So run for pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Apareceu por ali.